I think this year I've had many positive interactions with Rob, but the most impactful one for me is his ability to actually care and remember each student even outside the classroom. So a really memorable moment for me with Rob is that he remembered my name throughout the entire year. That may seem very simple, a teacher's meant to remember their students, but knowing that EdAtlas has over 300 students, or around about that for methods, I found that it was extremely impressive for him to remember who I was on site straight away. Hi, my name is James. I completed and graduated Trinity Grammar in Year 12 this year, and I graduated with an ATAR of 99.7 and a raw 45 in methods. I think the biggest worry I had is trying to grapple with the VCE system. So VCE is a huge pressure cooker where students are put up against each other, all to fit the bell curve and get those high scores. So the biggest worry for me was, well, how will I deal with all the stress, anxiety, going into exams, going into SACs, and how will I be able to continue having healthy relationships with my peers? And before I started EdAtlas, I was quite concerned as to how I'd be able to compete effectively. But once attending these lessons, receiving EdAtlas's materials, I discovered that I was able to rehearse how to be in these stress conditions. So to give some insight, EdAtlas hosts mock SACs, so it's practice SACs, before any school runs their first ever SAC for methods. So by the time EdAtlas students sit their real SAC, they would have completed already 2 of these mock SACs before. And that sets them up at a huge advantage compared to their peers. And that's definitely benefited me throughout the year. So before Year 12, I'd never taken tutoring. So this year was an opportunity for me to have a look around and see what different tutoring establishments were offering. And I've been to many different places where my friends were going. And the overall impression to me was that they were prioritizing quantity over quality, in that they would have stacks and stacks of booklets, many questions, many lessons throughout the week, but they would only be able to have time to cover, say, superficial or more simple questions which you'd find at the beginning of an exam, rather than these separators towards the end. And with any separators that they offered, these were always taken from very recent past exams or very publicly available resources. And so through word of mouth and even through endorsements from my teachers, after discovering EdAtlas, I realized that they really prioritize what it means to teach rather than to be a business. And so their resources were very plentiful, but not only that, they were curated and they really delved deep into the limits of what VCAR could test. I think this year I've had many positive interactions with Rob, but the most impactful one for me is his ability to actually care and remember each student even outside the classroom. So a really memorable moment for me with Rob is that he remembered my name throughout the entire year. That may seem very simple, a teacher's meant to remember their students, but knowing that EdAtlas has over 300 students, or around about that for methods, I found that it was extremely impressive for him to remember who I was on site straight away. And I think one of my most cherished times here at EdAtlas is sort of in a period where I was questioning how or whether I really deserved to be in the final extension class, which I'd just gotten into. And so having many conversations with Rob, even after class, very late into night, he would always be so supportive of the fact that I got in, and really emphasize that I got in for a reason in all those periods when I was doubting. And so that really helped me succeed throughout the year and through SACs and assessments. So Infinity's Playground in EdAtlas really focuses on those final questions in the exam. So rather than a general guide or a general strategy on how to approach the 2 papers, Infinity's Playground focuses on the final separator, the 2-mark edge, which means the difference between a study score of 48 to a study score of 50. And what that really does is that hammers in not only a competitive and healthy environment, but really to push those students who are aiming for perfection. And so what I've seen through many other students, many of my peers that got these perfect study scores, is that whatever that was thrown at them during the exam, they were able to complete it perfectly. And that was because they struggled, they failed in these classes. These classes were a moment for them to practice, and so that the next time when they see these questions in the exam, they know straight away how to solve them. And that was, I think, very unique to students in this class.